I'd like to welcome Callie Geyer back to our National Fun Day. Hi, Callie.
Hi.
Good to see you again.
Yes, great to work with you guys again.
We love our National Fun Day. It's such a fun, great way to spend a Saturday. It's beautiful weather here in the Northeast, but we're always happy to be inside doing some model crafts. And today we are going to do some etching. I have
Yes.
my little stablemate here, which is nice and dark, solid color, works great for etching. As you can see, you've got a lot of black horses there yourself, and those are absolutely amazing. I can't wait to learn how to do this. So let's kick us off.
Yes. All right. So these will be the finished results at the end. So these two. And you have the option of adding stars and then outlines if you'd like, which I will walk through that.
That's so cool.
All right. So first you want to start with your solid model. If you want to, you don't have to do black. You can do like a blue model or
Sure.
purple, which would be fun for a constellation. And then you want to have your X-Acto knife. These are basically the only two things you're going to need for a while until you add the paint and all of that. So first, what you want to do, it's up to you. You can completely come up with your own constellations, or you can look up your own. Like, I know with all of the zodiac signs and stuff, there's different constellations you can pick from. So I printed out just some references and you can look on the internet. So there's just these different constellations for all of the zodiac signs, all of that. And then basically you pick a point where you want to start with your model, and then we can get into it. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make a star, which will be the point to start off that constellation. So the easiest way that I've found to etch stars is you want to make, it's going to be really tiny, so you want to go up, and then you want to kind of make a halfway done triangle, like so.
So, Callie, for someone who's just starting, can
Yes.
you give us a little bit of etching 101? Because you don't want to go too deep. You don't want to like gouge out the plastic. So, can you briefly and quickly explain what the goal of etching is?
Yes. So the goal of etching is to kind of gently scrape the paint away off of an original finished model, and you can create designs with the white. Now, eventually, as you get more into it and as you get more experienced, you can create shading by using different pressure points and creating, shading. So
Mhm.
what you want to do is you want to very gently etch the model. So the next step is across that triangle point you just made, like so. You don't want to gouge too deep because you'll end up seeing scratch marks all along your model. So you have to kind of find a happy medium and kind of let the knife do the work. You don't need to like press too deeply into the horse. All right. And then after you create that line across, what you want to do is you kind of want to connect the points diagonally. So after that, you connect this point, and then you connect this point. And then you kind of have your outline for your star. And it's not filled in all the way. And then what you want to do after you have your basic outline for your star is you can go ahead and fill in any black points you see within that star. And as you're going, you will get dust from the plastic, so just swipe it away. And then at the end, before I seal my etchies, what I do is I give them a wash. You wash them off in the sink really quick, and that way it gets all that dust away. So, and then you should have a basic outline for your star. And don't worry about getting all of the points filled in. You can always go back and touch it up. That's what I do. I just get a basic sketch and then I go back in. And then after that, what you want to do to continue your constellation is you make a line. Now this takes some precision. Make sure you can create a small line at first, and then you can always make it thicker depending on how you want your constellation to look. And you can do these whatever sizes you want. I know I'm making mine kind of small, but you can make a big constellation across your horse or a small one like this. And then after you create that line, what you want to do is you want to start to create another star. So with that, you create that triangle point again. And then usually,
For
yeah.
any of our folks that are just getting started with etching, what is some basic first timer tips? Is there a specific X-Acto knife that you like, or a specific size blade, or can you just start with a toothpick? What do you start with?
So funny story, I etched my first model with scissors, and that is
Hey.
not the way to go. You can try, but it left a bunch of gouges and a bunch of, yeah, it just was not good. But so I would definitely recommend an X-Acto knife to start off. And I would recommend one with kind of a smaller handle so you can get a good grip on it. And I use an 11 blade. It's number 11. You can find them at Walmart. They're pretty easy to come by, for stablemates at least. And make sure you have multiple blades because the blades do get dull. And then with time, you have to interchange them. And yeah, like I said, just make sure to not really scratch into the model, kind of let the knife do the work. For the initial outlines, I kind of like to use the tip of the blade, and then to fill stuff in, you'll find yourself using more of the blade, but you want to kind of use that point to make those outlines, and then you can fill in your designs.
For anyone watching at home, you're welcome to ask Callie questions through the chat here live on YouTube, and I'll get those questions to Callie. And I'm gonna go ahead and pin Callie. I'm gonna make your model screen bigger so our folks at home can follow along easier.
Perfect, sounds good. All right, so I'm just working on another star right now. And as you can see, I connected the two stars with a line. And obviously it doesn't look as perfect or polished yet, and that's okay. You just kind of learn how to do it, and then you can always go back and touch it up. And if you do mess up, because this is a solid black model, you can always go in with some black paint and kind of touch it up that way. All right. And also something that I like to do with these models is I like to go with the musculature based on my constellation. So, for example, let me show this one. As you can see with this one, kind of the shoulder, I kind of went with the musculature of the shoulder and the flank right there. So you can always do that. It's just completely up to you how you'd like to customize your own constellation. All right, and then we're going to go this way. So you can kind of etch down another line.
Do you pick a particular model for any particular reason, or have you etched on anybody? You smoother,
Yeah,
musculature easier, I assume?
yeah, that's a good question. So this model is actually a little bit more difficult to etch because of all the muscles, as you can see.
Yeah.
Normally for beginners, I would definitely recommend like a smoother model. Like this guy, for example, he's a little bit smoother. There's not as much muscling detail as this one. So I would definitely recommend kind of a smoother surface to start out with. And this one as well, as you can see, kind of a little bit smoother than this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because what's really difficult is to etch within the musculature. So these lines right here, it gets difficult to make things, straight and it takes a lot of precision. So yeah, there's definitely different types of models. You kind of just want to look for one that's kind of a little bit more smoother as far as all of that goes.
Yeah. And again, any color, any original finish color that you're hoping to start with. It could be a
Yes.
metallic, it could be navy, purple, whatever color.
Yes, exactly. But some colors, depending on the finish of the model, like glossy models, for example, I wouldn't recommend etching just because they have that extra gloss and it's very difficult to get through with that. Um, and some metallic colors are a little bit harder to etch. So what I found in etching models is sometimes the paint thickness kind of varies. So sometimes you might have to put a little bit more pressure to get that paint off. It's kind of finding a happy medium. All right, so I'm just making another star, and as you can see, you do that triangle, and then you do line across, and then you connect the points. And then you fill in your star. And don't be afraid to just don't hold the model in one place the whole time. You can definitely move the model around as you're etching. It's a lot easier to get in all of those, areas that you need to move. All right. So as you can see, we're getting there. We're making a constellation. And I'm gonna go this way next. All right. So again, just that triangle. Kind of looks like a little tent.
I think before you said you could also just do dots if you didn't want to do stars, if
Yeah,
stars are getting
completely.
to be a little bit of a challenge. You're just starting.
Yeah, definitely. Because as you can see, constellations also have dots. So if the stars are a little bit too complex for you, you can just do little circles at the end,
Mm-hmm.
and then that'll connect the points and make a constellation.
I guess really whatever shape you can
Yeah, exactly.
leave them as triangles, whatever makes you.
Yeah. The thing about this is it's your own horse and you can do whatever you want. That's the beauty of art. You can't really go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So I'm just making another star right there. All right. So as you can see, the constellation is forming pretty quickly. Definitely with the musculature too, what you want to do is kind of start on the smoother points and then work your way through the horse. All right, yeah, so it's just all about connecting lines and making little dots or stars, whatever you choose. And then soon enough, you will have a constellation. And then, And also what's fun too is you can definitely make your stars or dots different sizes too. That could add a fun variety to your constellation. And a key to etching as well is depending on the paint of your horse and how easy you are to color match it, you can always go thicker, but you can't go thinner. If that makes sense. So
Yeah.
what you do is like you want to make kind of thin outlines, and you can always make them bolder, stand out more. So that's how I start, and then you can always fill in or add more. Um, but yeah, so that's another piece of advice I definitely give is to make sure you start out small, and then you can always make things bigger if you want. All right. And we're going to connect these lines, close this constellation out.
So you do quite a bit of etching, obviously.
Yeah.
Do you find doing these sort of patterns to be a lot different than doing a realistic etch? Or are these sort of decorator ones just as difficult?
I would say depending on the pattern you choose, they're just as difficult, but
Mm-hmm.
it can be a lot easier as well because I know that I don't personally do realistic etching patterns, but I know the artists that do, it's hair by hair and it takes a long time, which I have a lot of respect for. But depending on the type of like decorator design you want to do, it might be hair by hair. If
Right.
you know, etch a horse on a horse, you can do herring detail on that tiny horse on that horse.
Sure.
So it really just depends on the design. Something like this, though, is definitely a lot easier than a hair by hair etchy.
Yeah, these are just so fun too.
Yeah, yeah. And also with the hair by hair detail ones, you have to kind of make sure that the herring pattern is correct because horses, their hair goes a certain way. So you have to double
Right.
check that and look at all the charts and all of that. So yeah. All right. So now that I've got my basic design for my constellation, I'm just kind of going back in and making the lines a little thicker because at some point they're a little thin and filling in the stars. And again, whatever constellation you choose is up to you. You can make this up. I kind of made this one up. Um, and you can just, yeah, have fun with it. It's what it's all about. And what's super fun too is at the end, what I like to do is I like to give, modify their facial markings to make little stars. So for this one, I gave him a bigger star and made kind of like a little North Star. And so this one you can do the same with. And then this one, I made a tiny little star for their facial markings, which is kind of fun. So you can always mess around with it. And if your horse has a stocking too, you can kind of like make a constellation out of that. Although definitely white markings are a little bit difficult because of the, transition from black to white. So you have to etch off a lot to make it look seamless. All right. A little bit of a difficult thing with the constellations, though, is getting the lines in between the stars kind of straight as possible. Sometimes you etch too much off or too little, so Just again, a lot of precision and focus, but don't worry if you can't get it perfect. You know, it's all about learning and everything. So as far as the technique, you kind of just want to, gently scrape along your design. Mhm. How's yours looking?
Callie. So I'm a Gemini, so I was trying
Oh,
to
are
do
you? Me
the
too.
twin. Ah, see? That's why
Yeah,
we're
look at
friends.
that.
So I was trying to do the
Yes.
twins. So
Oh, I
I,
can see. Yeah, that's
yeah,
looking good.
thanks. I
Yeah,
Stars and I were not getting along.
that's
Um,
okay.
so I have sort of we'll call them shapes. We're not going to say
Shapes.
circles
Okay.
at
Hey,
each
as long as it's a
intersection.
shape. Yeah, I think it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, it's looking good.
thank you. There is a connection point between each of the lines, but I will not
You
try
don't
and
know what
by
shapes they are. Yeah.
yeah. So how do you avoid getting the lines to be too thick? Just super concentrating and trying to get in the same spot over and over again?
Yeah, kind of like that. What you want to do is like, what I normally do is I make a really thin line and then
Mm-hmm.
go back in. I kind of retrace that line, but then move my blade a little bit outside of it. So it's just like a lot of precision, um,
Mm-hmm.
and focus with that. Because, and then, yeah, just trying to make it as even as possible. It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah. It's fun though. It's not quite nails on the chalkboard sound, but it definitely has a bit of a
Yeah, I
visionary
know,
spirit.
right? It does. It has a very, yeah, fun
Yep.
sound.
Yeah.
Sometimes I put in music while I etch because I'm like, oh, it's a little.
Constantly over and over again might be a bit long.
Yeah.
But just a reminder to anybody that's watching from home, we have our chat up on YouTube. If you have any comments or questions, I'm happy to read those off to Callie and we can get your questions answered for you. This is really just a very free form workshop. You can kind of be inspired by constellations in your area. Please post your finished products once you guys are done, either today or over the weekend or during the week, whenever you have a chance to do these videos, and they'll all be posted to breyerhorses.com and to all of our social channels so you can get a chance to do them on your own time. So it's not always possible to sit down for a couple hours like we have on a Saturday, but it's always fun to go back.
No, for sure. Yeah. And
On these,
oh, go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say on these smoother guys, at least you have a little bit of real estate, so you can kind of add
Yeah,
in some little,
exactly. No, the model you've got there is really good for that. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that way. What's kind of difficult is, well, it doesn't matter quite much for this one, just because you can do the constellations in kind of any direction and you can't make them look bad. But for like rearing models, you have to
Mhm.
like make sure that
Yeah.
the design looks good when the horse is rearing. Because sometimes I've had issues where I've like etched, and I move the horse all around and I'm like, oh, that's not even. That doesn't look right. Like the design's facing downwards instead of
Yeah.
upwards with the horse. So
Have you
that's
found
something.
have you
Yeah.
found a difference between etching an OF model versus something that was custom painted with, say, acrylics or
Yeah, I would find that honestly, so I've done my own etching of the horses that I painted. So I'll paint them and then I'll go back and etch them. And I would say the OFs are a little easy. It kind of varies with the paint, but I would say OFs are a little bit more easier to etch just because sometimes when you paint with acrylics, it kind of stains the model.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, sometimes when I'm etching horses that I've painted, um, there'll still be some paint. It'll be a little bit harder to get that paint out. It depends on the type of paint. If you use acrylic though, or something like easily washable, it could be easier, just kind of varies. But I have used the etching technique with horses that I have painted a base coat on. Um, and something you can always do too, which I've done, is you can paint a top layer on an OF and then you can scratch and, make a design with that.
And
So
just, so you're saying just scratch off the top layer and don't get through the OF color.
yeah, you can do either that or you can do both. So you can,
Mhm.
make designs. So for example, I can paint over this black, although it would be difficult because it's a dark color, but I can paint
Mhm.
over this black with something else and then kind of etch the top layer to create different colors. So
Perfect.
that's always fun as well. Again, with etching, there's lots of possibilities.
Love that.
Yeah, and you can always combine etching and painting. I've done that with some of my Halloween horses. I will go through and etch them. But yes,
And you're gonna share with us in a little bit. We're gonna add some highlights to these guys, right?
yes, and stars.
And more stars.
Yes. So what I've done with these ones is I will show you guys the splatter technique to create stars, kind of a galaxy background.
Perfect.
Yeah, so this one, as you can see, there's a bunch of little dots and stars. And it's a lot simpler than you think. I'll show you guys. Yeah.
You can share all of your completed designs on our hashtag Breyer Fun Day. So hashtag Breyer Fun Day. So we get to see all of the work everybody's done across all 4 of our different workshops today. It'd be really great. And Callie, if folks wanted to go back and see some of your other work, where could they go ahead and find that? Where?
So I am both on Instagram and Facebook under
Mhm.
Flying Horse Studios. So I'm on both of those channels, and I do have a website which I link through my Facebook and Instagram. So my Instagram is at flying_horse_studios, and then my Facebook page is Flying Horse Studios Etched and Painted Model Horse Customs. You search it up, you should find me. I have like a galaxy horse as my profile picture. So that's how you
Perfect.
find me. Yes. So that is how you can look at my work. And I always appreciate anybody who shows any interest in my work. It means so much as an artist.
Well, we certainly appreciate it.
Yes, for
This is your
sure.
second National Fun Day with us, I think.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
The first one I did was the pumpkin fall themed one.
Yeah, that one was super fun too. I loved fetching
Yeah,
around the pumpkins.
I know. The pumpkins were super fun to etch, especially. And the fall leaves and all that.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
still have them around the office. They're great.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm gonna pin you up here again so folks can see your beautiful work.
Perfect. All right, so I think pretty soon here I'm going to show you guys how to do splatter, the splatter stars, and then the outlining. So yeah, most of the times though, so don't get discouraged, but most of the times when I etch, the first kind of outline, everything's not perfect, and that's what touch-ups are for. So always go back in and kind of, make straighter lines and fill things in. So as you can see, things aren't filled in right now. It's a little messy, but you can always go back and fix that. All right. As far as timing goes, are we still finishing this up at 1?
Yep, you've got
Yeah.
about 20 minutes.
Okay, perfect. So that way I will go and show you guys the painting process. So I have to move the camera around just a little bit. I will be back. All right. One moment. All right, so here I have this little painting studio box that I created.
Oh, look at that.
And that's because we are going to splatter some horses, which means the paint kind of gets everywhere sometimes. So we have this one right here. This one was kind of the first sample for this one. But as you can see, let me adjust my light. This one does not have the little stars yet. So, all right. What you want to do if you want to add splatter stars, and then again, this is completely up to you. You can leave your model just kind of etched with the constellations without the stars, or you can add little splatter stars. First thing that I like to do is, I don't know, yes, so I like to add masking fluid over the things that we have etched, so that way when you splatter the stars, it doesn't, get on your work and then you have to go through and etch it kind of all over again. Or you can make masking tape, or if since the designs are white and the stars will be white, it's not that noticeable, so you can just leave them unmasked. So then what you want to do is you want to have some white acrylic paint. Any brand kind of works. I've done it with like craft paint, the 99 cents ones that you can find at Walmart. So what you want to do with this part is you want to open your paint, leave a little right there. You want to kind of get a good pile of paint. And then you get a brush. Now the key to this splatter is you want to use a dry brush. So you don't want to get any water on it. I know most of the times you want to water down your paint, but with here, it's not entirely what you want to do. So let me move the camera down a little bit. All right. And I like to put on a glove. It's up to you. You can wash the paint off your hands, but that way I don't have to get up and go wash my hands. So here's this. You kind of dip the paintbrush in your paint. And then what you want to do with splatters, it might be kind of hard, but here's the technique. So you kind of go like this, and you hold your model in front of you as you do. It's a very you flick back the paintbrush. And as you can see, we made a bunch of tiny stars. So it's a super easy technique. And that's all you basically have to do. Just make sure your brush is completely dry. No water, because if it waters down the paint, it'll make the stars kind of bleed and drip down. So then you created a bunch of little stars as the background for your constellations. So there's that step. And then
You said you had masking medium on there. Can you just show what that was?
Yes. Yeah, so these are all of my supplies right here. So this is the one that I use. You can get it on Amazon. And it's basically this liquid fluid. It has latex as the base of it. And then what I use is I use this little tool. It's a masking fluid tool. So you just put the masking fluid on and then you can kind of put it over all of your etched areas.
And then it just peels off. You wash it off. How does it come off?
Yes. Yeah. So I can actually peel it off right now. You kind of want to roll it with your finger.
It just comes off like a gum.
Yeah. And see, it's coming off right here.
Yep.
And then you just kind of roll it down. The rolling technique is the best technique. And then, yeah, it's coming off.
Easy
that's how you
peasy.
take it off. Yeah, it's pretty simple. And then, yeah, if you just want to use that splatter technique, to create little stars. So again, it's kind of just like a flicking back motion of the paintbrush, and you just want to get white and then do that. All right. And then I can show you guys how to do the outlines next. So what's really fun, and what I did with this guy, is I did blue outlines around the constellations. It kind of makes them pop, and honestly kind of gives like a retro 70s look, in my opinion, which is super cool. Any color can do. I'm gonna use blue, but you can use like purple or pink or even like, I don't know, all the colors, orange, yellow, just depending on how you want your constellation horse to look. So this is the paint that I use, but again, you can use kind of any paint. Um, so if you want to just you shake your paint first. Now, the key to this is tiny, tiny little brushes. So these are the brushes that I use. Very tiny. But again, also like things like toothpicks work, you know, just to kind of get in. This is my tiny, tiny brush. So after that, you just want to get some paint out. All right. And what I like to do is I like to outline the bottom of my constellations here. So you want to get a little paint on your brush. And then what you do is you kind of outline the very bottom of your constellation. So as you can see, it gives it like a really nice pop. If you want to go around the stars or circles, whatever you did, just very gently kind of go around constellations. There you go.
Do you have any particular source for those teeny tiny brushes? Just local craft stores,
Yeah,
anything
for
like that?
sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I found mine at Michael's. I would definitely recommend because they have a whole paintbrush wall and you can go in and pick like little tiny brushes. Um, but yeah, so you just want to kind of go in and outline your stars and your lines. And it just kind of elevates the look a little bit. And if you want with etchies as well, you can also repaint their eyes different colors. For this one, I did repaint his eyes blue just to give him a little bit of a pop. Right. So yeah, you just want to basically outline your design.
And you said earlier you can use, any color to do the outline. And I love the idea of having each segment like be a different color or like kind of like a tie-dye rainbow kind of effect.
Yeah, for sure. And what's really fun too is you can combine colors. You can do, I know
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing blue, but under this you can do another line. You can make like
Yep.
multiple lines maybe. Um, Kind of like the concept of shooting stars. They have like multiple streaks, so you can do, different colors under, or even shades of the same color. If you
Oh,
wanted to
shading
do,
same. That sounds great.
yeah,
Yeah.
like you can mix this blue with white and create a lighter. I can actually
Mm-hmm.
do that to see what
That would
it'll look
be nice.
like.
Mhm.
Yeah. So since I have blue and white paint here, you can kind of mix it.
Kind of give it like a 3D effect almost.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it's completely up to you and how you want your constellation to look. There's really no wrong way how to do this. So I'm going in now and adding kind of a lighter blue color.
I imagine too for when you did the splatter, if you did like something with like a little glitter in it would be kind of cool too.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can definitely find like maybe glitter paint and use that to do the splatters. Um, that's really cool. That could be really neat.
Yeah, I like this outlining bit is different than what we did with the pumpkins last year, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Makes it feel
yeah,
different.
for sure. And it's a great way to show how you can combine painting and etching, like we
Yeah,
talked about.
yeah,
And
it's a good.
yeah, see, I'm making another. Again, it's given that. Yeah, that's looking great. It looks awesome. Yeah.
Anybody, any questions? Make sure you get those in the chat for Callie here before we wrap up. I can't believe it's almost been an entire hour already.
I
These days
know.
just fly by. We have so much fun doing them, and we can't wait to see everybody's finished products using hashtag Breyer Fun Day. And we will share as many of those as we can across all of our different social media platforms, and so everyone can see everybody's cool work here.
Yes. I can't wait to see what everybody creates.
Yeah. We always appreciate all of our artists taking part in the day with us and sharing your wonderful craft, all of your tools.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really happy to be here. I love, helping other artists, learn how to do different techniques. And
I love the way that looks.
yeah, it's looking really neat with the
That's
two different blues. Yeah.
really cool.
Again, for me, it's giving like 70s kind of retro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really neat. So see, there's multiple ways to do it. And yeah, I love the hobby because there's so many different routes you can go within the model horse hobby.
Yeah.
And it's really just a cool thing.
Express yourself however you'd like.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that is looking really neat.
Got some good comments in the chat. Everyone can go back and read. We're excited about it.
Yes.
I'm curious to try it. I haven't tried it on this one, but I'm going to go back another day and try to extend some of his leg markings and do some of the constellations down his legs because I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I think that would be for sure. You can kind of, connect it and do some on his knees and all of that. I know I did a little bit. I didn't extend it fully, but I did some stars on the knees of this one.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, you can even do some standalone stars if you want. Um, and then again, the facial markings are always super fun to do. I gave this
Yeah.
one a little star snip.
Oh, it's a little, no, that's cute.
Yeah. And also, if you do, another technique is if you do a star snip or any sort of snip, horses' noses are pink usually. So what I do is I go in with a little bit of pastel. It's a little hard to see the pink on here, but I go in with some pastel and then I kind of bake it into the plastic so it stains the plastic pink so they can have a pink nose. Um, yeah. Yeah, this is looking really neat.
That's an interesting point. We actually just did pasteling for our 10 o'clock workshop and
Really?
it was Dapple's Star Dapple. And so it was all with pastels, but that would be really cool to use the pastels here instead of the outline to fill in
Yeah, for sure.
your
And
etches.
even the pastels. So what I use the pastels for is to kind of stain the plastic of the etched designs.
Yeah.
So instead of white, you can go in with pastel and kind of dab it in and stain the plastic so you can do like, I don't know, purple constellations. Um, and then you can
Yeah, I
do the
love that.
outline on top of that. Yeah.
That sounds awesome. Combine some of our techniques here today.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, this is awesome, Callie. Thank you so much for being with us today and taking your time to show us these fun techniques. And again, post your finished products for us to see and for Callie to share and check her out at Flying Horse Studio. And we'll check back with you later on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun sitting down and etching with you on this nice Saturday, as you said. And yeah,
Awesome.
I'd love to see everybody's work and thank you for joining. And I hope we learned a little bit about etching.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. See you
Yeah.
later.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.